we are settlers and revolutionaries. We defend our liberty and foster the innovations of the future. Our decisions reflect the livelihood of a nation. They have held nearly every political office, from city councilman to president of the United States. They amassed one of the most notable fortunes in American history. With their presidency often referred to as Camelot, they're the closest thing that America has to a royal family. They're the Kennedys. Their story begins in the early 19th century with an agricultural disaster that occurred across the Atlantic Ocean, the Irish potato famine. Pushed from Ireland and drawn to the economic opportunity offered by the United States, the ancestors of the Kennedy family settled in urban Massachusetts. Though they faced heavy discrimination as Irish Catholic immigrants, Patrick Joseph Kennedy began the family's political pursuits with his position as a state congressman and worked his way up from a dock laborer to a business owner. His son, Joseph Kennedy, would gain even more prominence through his banking and stock pursuits, engaging in many practices that would be illegal in the modern era. Kennedy's dealings were not based on luck. His financial savvy was so developed that he sensed the impending stock market crash in 1929 and withdrew his shares. Allegedly, Kennedy also profited from illicit liquor bootlegging during Prohibition. Political power accompanied his rise to the top of the financial ladder, largely due to his close friendship with Assistant Secretary of the Navy Franklin Roosevelt. He was appointed as the chairman of the Securities and Exchange Commission and served as the United States ambassador to Britain during the 30s. However, it was in 1914, with the marriage of Joseph Kennedy and Rose Fitzgerald, that America's royal family would truly rise to prominence. Their matrimony connected Joseph's wealth with the Fitzgerald family's political influence, a match destined to spawn politically successful children.
From the day that the Kennedys were born, or days, I guess, they weren't all born on the same day. That'd be unusual. They knew that they were being prepared to reach the very highest levels of governance. What with their daddy's wealth and strategery skills, and their mama's family's prowess in politicking, and that is a real word. I looked it up on the Google. They were destined for success.
When World War II began, both of the elder Kennedy brothers, John and Joseph, quickly volunteered to go to war. Joe volunteered for the Air Force, where he became a talented pilot. Tragedy struck, however, during a dangerous, top-secret mission over the English Channel that Joe Jr. volunteered for. As he was flying over the channel, he was shot down and killed, ending his father's dreams of a Joe Jr. presidency. While Joe was flying in the Air Force, John had been commanding a small boat in the Pacific, where he distinguished himself by leading his men to safety after his boat was torn in half by a Japanese ship. This earned him the Purple Heart and Navy and Marine Corps Medal citation.
He really was a tremendous guy, as you probably know. I like the guys that don't get captured, and he didn't get captured. I mean, like me, he clearly had some great leadership qualities. I mean, look at the guy. His ship gets rammed into 2 pieces, and he doesn't cut and run. Doesn't get captured like that loser John McCain. He gets 2 medals, which is a huge deal. And I think the guy was just tremendous. Just tremendous. John Fitzgerald Kennedy, known to many as JFK, never intended to venture into the political realm. Rather, he wanted to study journalism. But his father was determined to land a Kennedy in office as the first Irish Catholic president. When a congressional seat became up for grabs in 1947, John F. Kennedy began his political career as a rookie Democrat in a Republican-controlled Congress. Not exactly the perfect environment for enacting change. His political voice was somewhat limited until the 1952 Senate election, when he took the U.S. Senate seat of Henry Cabot Lodge, Jr., son of the ardent expansionist and friend of Teddy Roosevelt. In 1953, directly after his Senate appointment, JFK married Jacqueline Bouvier, who became famous in her own right for her class and style, notably the pink Chanel suit that she wore during her husband's assassination. In 1960, Kennedy ran for president, advocating for a new frontier of reduced poverty and a strong space program. With the majority of voters coming from Protestant backgrounds, his Catholic faith initially turned many away. However, the revolutionary use of television to broadcast presidential debates eventually led Kennedy to victory. Television viewers were drawn to JFK's youthful, vibrant appearance, possibly more so than his principles, and the Kennedy family began their White House reign in the early 60s.
I think the Kennedys, JFK in particular, were so successful in politics because they were determined. That was the primary goal of the entire family, was to have a Kennedy in power. That was the pivotal achievement. And also there were no emails back then, so there were no issues with that.
Power once again shifted in Dallas, Texas a few years later when JFK was assassinated in his motorcade. The whole country mourned, but the most prominent Kennedy's death did not mark the end of the family's political reach. JFK's younger brother, Robert Kennedy, served as Attorney General and ran for president in 1968, only to be assassinated after winning the Democratic primary. The youngest son of Rose and Joseph Kennedy was Ted Kennedy, who was elected to the Senate in 1962 and served for a total of 47 years in office, the fourth longest-serving senator in U.S. history. To this day, there is a Kennedy serving in Congress, Joe Kennedy III. Evidently, the Kennedy's family's reputation derives from their accumulated wealth and their intervention in the political realm, but secrets and conspiracies shroud the family in mystery. The infamous Kennedy curse notes the unnatural deaths of numerous family members. Rosa Mary Kennedy, JFK's sister, was institutionalized after being forced to undergo a lobotomy. Joe Jr. died in a plane crash, as did JFK Jr. and Kathleen Kennedy. John and Robert were both assassinated by radicals in the 1960s. David Kennedy died of an overdose in 1984. Michael Kennedy died in a skiing accident in 1997, and most recently, Mary Kennedy, the estranged wife of Robert, hung herself in 2012. The question presents itself: does so much power come with a price?
Regardless of the price, the Kennedy family would likely be able to pay it. Descendants of Joseph Kennedy, the original breadwinner, still receive millions through trusts and tax schemes that protect the enormous family fortune from outside use. America's royal family is still alive and thriving today. Their role in United States politics, stretching from the 19th century to the modern era, has altered societal perceptions as to how the wealthy influence government. Perhaps in this way, the legacy of the Kennedy family allows us to glimpse into the nature of American democracy and view how Irish potato farmers grew into a dynasty.